Welcome one and all to our final weekend of the NACL regular season. We are here and I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Joshi and I'm excited to kick this one off with you. We got a long super weekend ahead of us, but hey, if LCS is any foreshadowing, there's going to be some bangers today, I feel like, Joshi.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of matches going on towards the top of the table, which does not affect whether they'll make playoffs, but does have a lot of effect on who they might be playing coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to look at, especially because none of those like really intense tiebreakers or things on the line, but still a lot of things to fight for in terms of standings and especially staying out of that promotion tournament. Now let's look at the standings here itself. We have FlyQuest, of course, the leading pack here. They've been absolutely dominant, and Maryville in second here as well.
Yeah, and Maryville is one of the teams that we will have playing today. It is still technically possible for them to get first, but it needs to start with a win today, and then they're going to be relying on FlyQuest dropping a couple series at the very end and not having the undefeated run.
That is the biggest thing I feel like in the minds of a lot of people watching FlyQuest, a lot of FlyQuest fans, is can they go the distance? Can they go undefeated? I feel like we've been here before, Joshi, with FlyQuest Challengers, but I'm very excited to see some of the middle of the pack and some of the tough fighting that's going to be happening at the bottom of the pack as well.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot more to happen that will go on over the next couple of days, where Team Liquid, Disguise, and Lit can still all fall down and not make it to playoffs at the very end. And the most important match for that will be Team Liquid versus Lit happening tomorrow. But for now, we will have to pay attention towards the top half, because we kind of know Maryville and FlyQuest nearly guaranteed those first and second spots, but third through sixth, where we'll have to play early on, are still to be decided, and we're going to be deciding a lot of that here and now. With Fear going up against Maryville and Wildcard going up against Supernova, it does mean that three of our teams right in the middle of the pack will have games today, which will say a lot about what their end placement will be and how their playoffs run will start off.
When I came into today, I was just really excited for a lot of the, I know you'll love this, the chess that's going to be played between these teams, because I feel like there's a lot of big brains on these teams here that we have in front of us today, and it's especially interesting when you look at some of the jungle matchups and things like that, but what we're going to be dissecting, at least with the meta itself. Now, I did find that we have a little bit of a draft delay here, so we're just talking a little bit more about these teams themselves, because what we're in store for today especially is, I feel like, some of the better League of Legends in our league as a whole.
Oh yeah, this is definitely several teams that we will be looking at very distinctly to see how they will be looking towards the upcoming playoffs, right? Because Supernova is still technically in the hunt for finding that first place spot. Now, according to our sheet, it is a 0.78%. It is still possible that they can find that first place, and they need to find it here today. And I think this was a team that a lot of people were unsure exactly how to rank them at the beginning of the season, but they've shown very clearly that they are at least in the conversation for a team that can potentially take the whole thing.
And I do believe I want to go ahead and zone in on this first matchup a little bit more. Fear versus Maryville, and potentially bring up the graphics if we do have them ready to go, because Fear itself, a very rambunctious team, let's say that, with their player profile pictures, but this team has surprised, I feel like, a lot of people, and Chad has been very vocal about a lot of the leadership that he's bringing to the table, but also this team has just come together. A lot of the confidence is there for this team. When we talked to Daption recently.
Yeah, and I know one of the big things about this roster that has worked together is Chad in particular has been a player that has surprised a lot of people. A lot of people felt as though Chad was a bit of a known quantity based on the number of splits that he has played in Tier 2 and Tier 3 over the past several years. But he definitely feels as though he has found his stride once again at this time around with so many decent pieces around him. The question then becomes, can he go up against the one jungler on the other side who has made our MVP top 5 every single split that he's been in the Challengers League in UG?
I am no shying. I guess I'm not shying away from being a bias towards UG. I've really liked this guy ever since he's come in. I've voted for him in those MVP races a lot of the times, but I think this matchup in particular is going to be a lot of fun to watch, because we talked a little bit about Chad and that leadership. He also provides a lot of spice in the jungle, right? He's the guy that brings out Rengar when he's feeling really confident. But UG, on the other hand, and Maryville, they have been a storm to be reckoned with this split, and it has been led a lot by this mid-jungle duo.
Yeah, and we got to give a little bit of an apology, Lennon. I remember at the very beginning of the split, you were very big on Scary Jerry, and literally every single one of the color casters were like, Mazel, we think you're a little bit delusional. This guy, he's played last split. He didn't look particularly good, but this has been a massive improvement coming out from the Maryville bottom lane, from Scary Jerry and Zyko in particular. And they are also going to be having a big opportunity here because Lens has had at least one other AD carry say that he might be in their running for the most valuable prospect, especially in the AD role. But Scary Jerry here to put a stop to that very quickly, wants to make sure that he can get the priority in the bottom lane and shut down Chad as quickly as they possibly can.
Last year felt like a big growth, I guess growing moment, and this year is the culmination of that for Scary Jerry and Zyko. They have had a lot more synergy in the 2v2, a lot more confidence in the aggressive 2v2s, and that's what's really been the shining point of they let Yuji kind of do what he wants to do. They know that they can play confidently around bottom side, and I think as a meta-dependent situation, I think that's huge right now with the way that the meta is defining itself here in the patch itself. Now we are getting into the first game. We're getting into draft number 1.
We're hitting the button. The casters are hitting it.
We get to go.
We get to go. We get to start
is
things
on
off.
Blue side. Maryville on red side. Fitting because Maryville are the red team. But
yeah,
I'm particularly wanting to see if any of those big jungle bans come through here. I know we get a lot of focus in the first phase of bans towards the bot lane, but in this matchup with Chad and Yuji, maybe that changes a little.
Yeah, I also want to point out that with the current changes, Azir is banned on the professional patch, meaning that we will not be seeing any of that coming through. It has been one of Spyrex's best champions over the past several years, and it does limit a lot of different options. The other thing that is really changing a landscape in the bottom lane is how powerful Kog'Maw has become after the recent patches. Everybody kind of remembered, hey, this guy is really good into Kalista, into Kai'Sa. The one champion that he kind of struggles into really has been Senna historically, so this is going to be an opportunity for Fury to potentially throw a couple of wrenches in the works, saying, sorry, we're not seeing any of those jungle bans come through just yet, Mazel. There is still an opportunity to ban out potentially Chad's Rengar, but otherwise, it is still going to be very focused on the bottom lane.
I wonder if the Smolder ban comes through here. I know in the LPL, we've been having some really good answers to the Smolder. It's just pushing its face in from minute 1 as much as you can. And it works out pretty well. The Varus ban is really nice. I think that's the more versatile ADC right now.
Yeah.
Orianna, first pickup for Toasty, and they're trying to set up this mid-jungle duo.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense the way that Chad likes to play. He likes to jump in, Toasty likes to support him that way, but I feel as though Fear has a bit of a plan coming around Smolder. Smolder, after the recent changes, has somehow become even more powerful than he was on 14.5 or 14.4 because you have so much power. Now, this would be a very surprising pickup if Maryville did go for it, but picking up the Xayah when Smolder, when Kog'Maw are both still available is saying that they want to create a lot of safety for Scary Jerry relatively early on. Give them some pushing power down there and try and force that priority up against the relatively weak early game of Smolder, and that you can just out damage the Kog'Maw when you actually start getting some crit items under your belt.
Good job, Niles and Yuji. You locked it in order so we get the cool background. Oh my god, we barely ever see that. No, it is the first time we actually get the Lovers Duo bot lane for Scary Jerry and Zyko for the split at least. And it plays straight to what I was talking about, some of that synergy that's really developed so strongly between those two. So now the answer needs to come out because there's a lot of safety and a lot of late game power in this Xayah.
Yeah, and we were just saying you were trying to create a lot of pressure around pushing the Smolder in very aggressively. Now, it is hard to do that because the Smolder is going to be on the blue side. He's a little bit more difficult to dive than if he was on the red side of the map, but we have a very clear message from Fear. We are going to be scaling later on into this game. Around the 25-minute mark is when things are going to start working out for us, whereas Maryville, they do not wait for the 25-minute mark in most of the games. They start going around minute 2, minute 3, where Yuji, Scary Jerry, and Zyko tend to link up and push their opponent out of the bottom side jungle. And so they've already picked up a lot of tools, a lot of disruption in the middle of the board. And that means that before we hit the 25-minute mark, Maryville needs to have the gas on the entire time.
Like both these teams going for a little bit of a slugfest team fight style here. You're going to have a ton of big moments that are going to be combining, and especially a lot of the Wombo combo right now for Maryville. In the second phase, though, we're getting all that jungle focus that was lacking in the first phase. That Nocturne and the Lee Sin taken off the board.
Yeah, I like the Lee Sin ban up against Yuji, the Nocturne ban, a very classic thing that has fallen off. We haven't seen quite as much Nocturne Orianna, basically any of it at all over the past several patches. But I am really wondering if you do even ban the Rengar here, because with the Xayah sitting there, there's not really a lot of threat that it still provides. Instead, they're going to be banning away the Cassante from Philip. That does mean that Chad will have a bit more freedom to try and create something that will have a lot of early pressure. Even though they don't have the Karma with them, I actually wonder if it means that Chad will go towards the Xinjiao early on.
I just think it's so funny that no matter what you do to Cassante, you could take out a couple sentences of his copy pasta, you're still going to find the presence. Like, we've been seeing it nonstop in the LPL. It's still finding carry moments, even though there's been multiple nerfs over multiple patches. Literally pieces of his kit take it out of him. But it's a really good ban towards this matchup because I know Philip and Niles like to go for that one. The Gnar also a specific ban towards Niles and a general top lane ban. The Rumble is coming through though.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Rumble coming through. It creates a lot of pressure. It's very self-sufficient. You're not mana gated, so you are able to continuously push Philip in. And Philip has been one of those players who admittedly says, like, I tend to get solo killed a lot. Rumble's a character who has a lot of opportunities to do that up in the top side of the map. And they're leaving Yuji's last pick jungle, so he has a lot of freedom to try and decide how he actually wants to play this matchup out. Makes me wonder if there's like a specific pick they're looking at from Chad for him to have a counter pick to, because normally, like, when you have the R5 Renekton, people go, why didn't you just pick this champion earlier in the game? It does become a spot where, you know, it's like, well, this champion was already good in the first place, and so we have the only 3 champions we're really expecting Chad to play. I'm kind of expecting this Xinjiao here.
I love where his head's at, man. He's like, oh, let's go. Okay, we get it. So I was saying before, this is a match, at least a pick that he picks when he feels confident, when he knows he wants to kind of play around with the mind space of the jungle. But he's also willing to say that this matchup at a lot of times is like a 50-50. Like, if he goes for it, he gets it, good job. If he doesn't, well, things are not going to go as well. So we'll see what the answer is from Yuji.
Yeah, he does hover the Viego so far. One of the important things to remember about the way that Chad tends to play Rengar is he likes to go for tankier styles of build and rely on his root, the bolas. When you empower that, it becomes a root where you have a lot more ability to be a safe, engaged champion than a lot of people like playing the full lethality. And so it does mean that Fear have some tools to try and fight in the mid board, but one of the things that we look at from Fear right now is with this Viego pick and the strong scaling already coming out from Maryville, or the mid-game fights that are going to come up from Maryville, the only real person who can really do anything about that is going to be Chad. This top lane is going to be pushed in relatively aggressively, and it does mean that Cincinnati Fear have to rely on their jungler and their top laner to get them to the point where Orianna and Smolder can take over.
It's going to be about Chad bouncing between mid and bot lane consistently. Him and Toasty, they've been a powerful combo already in the season. They need to make sure they do so against Maryville, one of the top dogs in our split. And on the other side, right, you have a lot of stability. I just love that we've gotten both junglers kind of getting the power picks for themselves. I love Yuji on Viego. I love Chad on Rengar. And there's going to be a lot of tussling, I feel like, early on. But that's where some of that stability needs to be played towards for Maryville as well.
Yeah. And as we jump into it, it is worth noting that Nico has received a bit of an indirect buff on this patch. With the increased AP coming out from the Hextech Rockabelt, you have a little bit more damage that you can put through, and it makes your already most built item even more powerful on this patch. And so now Maryville, as they set up, nothing really happening early on in the game, but I do want to point out that Chad going for the fleet footwork usually is accompanied by those more tanky builds that we know and love from Chad. So we are already looking at a position where Chad will be trying to set things up. He's not necessarily going to be the main character, but he is going to be the one who has to jump forward.
So leading foot is established, and a lot of waiting games on the bottom side, I feel like, for Fear. On the other side, maybe not so much. And this is really playing towards that style we really wanted to highlight for Scary Jerry and Zyko, playing a lot more aggressive in the 2v2, playing a lot more confidently in the 2v2. And Fear, they mismanaged their timing, and Maryville will get a little bit of the upper hand here. Smolder does not like auto attack trades, but you do like those early stacks.
Yeah, I mean, it comes through. It ends up being pretty even in terms of the damage trade. There will be a sustained benefit coming through from Zyko's side of the map just because he is playing that Rakan. But looking across the map, we do have Yuji and Chad starting on opposite sides. And Chad coming through with his bottom side start should alleviate a lot of the pressure that Maryville like to go for if they catch you pathing towards the bottom side of the map, because you know Gary and Zyko love playing aggressively right from minute one. Yuji's not going to be able to invade Chad with their help this time.
We did see those opposite side starts at least, so we'll see what the pathing lies. I do appreciate some of the unique pathing that can happen between these two guys, so we'll see if anything does. We already have pings from Chad going across map, though. He'll skip his Krugs and go that way. Okay, he will be spotted there. So Maryville can play off this vision a little bit.
Yeah, that should help out quite a bit, especially since they know that Chad at this point has skipped over his Krugs on the opposite side of the map. But Yuji, I feel as though he's already a bit too late to try and go for any kind of invades. And one of the things that's always interesting is we know that Chad is a player that has a reputation as being very aggressive the way that he paths, but he actually says he really prefers to just go for 6 camp clears every single time. And now, does he spot Yuji out? I don't know if they saw him.
I don't know if he did. They're playing off that vision we highlighted earlier, and this is the kind of mind games. Now, they will see Niles coming over, so they can suspect something, but the blue buff already going down, and Yuji playing up there. Let's try to take away a little bit more from Chad. Chad realizing that he has lost a bit of his jungle here.
Yeah, Chad with the red buff, not going to be able to jump onto Yuji. But this is what we were talking about, right? Yuji and Maryville love going for these early invades by forcing early prio in their lanes. Niles was able to get it against Philip in a lane where you're supposed to, as the Rumble. And even though we were saying it looked as though it would be difficult for Yuji to find these invades, Maryville managed to do it anyway. And look at this. He's already coming down and saying, hey, you need to respect me at your Krugs.
Yeah, and I think that being said, there's really good just kind of body blocking right now from Yuji. He's like walking around the map. Is Chad going to go for something because of the way the lane is pushed up here? The engage comes through from Daption. Some more stacks going the way of the little dragon. Chad's coming around the corner. He will be spotted out, so Scary Jerry and the rest will back away.
And we're already seeing down here in the bottom side of the map a 2-wave advantage nearly emerging for Scary Jerry and Zyko. There is a bit more vision, but they still see Chad on the wards. Yuji is around doing his own gromp. He is absolutely A-okay. Maryville feels as though they have just blown apart this early game so far because every single lane is at least a wave in advantage already.
You start getting to the point where the Zaya is going to be feeling really good. Oh, Toasty gets clipped by the end of it, trying to go forward for the trade. Not going to go down to a solo yet. Those potions ticking away.
Wow. I mean, this is the danger that always comes through. We know Toasty was a player that some scouts were looking at as a player who's consistently getting better every single day, or every single split at the very least. But Spyrex, he's been up there for such a long time, very nearly solo killing Toasty, and without any jungle intervention on either side, we are already seeing that he is about a wave up by himself. Yuji as well, several camps up, and Niles up in the top lane. I mean, it will be partially equalized, but he will still end this first 5 minutes of several minions up. And now Chad, he has to come around, but he's spotted.
Yeah, it's really, really nice how Maryville been playing around their vision. They have taken hold of the jungle countless times already.
And now it means that Yuji's just going to get these grubs. Chad thought he could come around to stop them, but Niles is there to say, no, you can't do anything to my friend. And Yuji, we'll see how many of these he actually chooses to pick up. Looks like he's going to go for all 3, which is a big boon to Maryville's very aggressive style that they want to play over the next several minutes.
I just can't get over how many times that the vision has just given perfect information to Maryville across the map. It's not just one place. It's literally been top to bottom, all the way across.
When you play against the best junglers, the way that it's been described to me is you should feel as though you're playing against a wall. There's nothing that you can do to them because they are everywhere that you're trying to go, and they are there first, trying to make sure you can't do anything. And that is exactly what Yuji has done this game. He has felt like an absolute wall to Chad. He wants to go for his blue buff, he can't. He wants to go for the bottom lane gank, too bad. He's already been warded out. You know that Yuji is already there because he threw out the mist to showcase that he was there. You want to go for the grubs to try and stop him? No. Niles and Yuji are there, and because you went to a spot that had vision, you can't even approach the grubs at all. Yuji has stopped everything, and now he's going to get all 3 grubs and the early dragon. Maryville, just off of the laning prowess that they have alone, is already nearly 1,000 gold up.
And Yuji's a guy who maybe has been a little bit quiet in his vocality for himself, at least in the past. But this year, it's different. This year, he is going out there saying, I want MVP. I'm tired of being second runner. I'm tired of coming up in top 5. I want to be the MVP of this league. And I think we've seen an MVP-like performance this year so far from this guy. And there's a reason, right? This guy has hit Challenger in every major region. He sticks true to his nomenclature of the Mongolian monster.
Yeah, and it's been absolutely wild to see. So now, again, we already set up that if this game gets to 25-30 minutes, Fear will have the tools to potentially fight back. But now the next step becomes, how does Maryville continue to push the advantage that they've already built up? Step 1, you get more of those grubs. Those will be spawning in a couple of minutes, and that will really help you get the Twitch chatters. And that's how you guys will be helping out Maryville try and find their way through this series and actually take it down relatively quickly. But then after that, you need to convince Fear to fight you around these dragons.
Flap, flap, flap coming up clutch right there, right out of it. Scary Jerry stepping forward. He's got that level 6 mark. And he can step with that flash if he wants to. Len's able to back them off a little bit, but they want to play aggressively. Dredge line hits. There's that blade storm.
Nice.
Oh, flash. Look at the mechanics, man. And they're going to try to get this one. Zyko can set him up, and Lens can't trade back enough. And double kill for Scary Jerry. And boy, you better be scared.
It looked a bit scary for Jerry, but it was not enough. And now Chad, he knows he's being hunted with the way that Spyrex has moved. It might not be over. It does look like it will end. But Scary Jerry and Zyko, it looked like a moment for Lens and Daption to try and turn around the bottom lane, but they will not have it. And this is the aggression that we've been seeing coming out from Scary Jerry and Zyko. The amount of confidence they've had for a lot of these plays, and he just forces Lens to ghost because he has the ultimate. He knows the turn is not really possible at this point until it looks like it is. And Daption, finding that hook, gets a lot of damage down, but dodging out on the Achu and then flashing for the Blade Caller means that Daption dies way faster than he's expecting to, and Lens is just all on his own. No mom to call because he's only level 5.
You're against the lovers duo, and you're just the third wheel. Not going to be a good place for Lens. As it was really impressive stuff from Scary Jerry there to flash in that way. I kind of had like a premonition of it because I just saw the angle of it, and this aggressive nature of Scary Jerry that's really shown out and shown above this year is making that true. Now Chad going to get caught here. Yuji, the combo, everybody on top of him, and that's a dead kitty.
This is one of the reasons why I love watching Maryville. Spyrex.
Ooh, little 1v1. Toasty, he's going for it here. He's got the combo, and he's got the damage. Giving a little revenge at the first kill for Fear.
Finally, Fear fighting something, and this was not a solo kill I was expecting, especially with how aggressive Spyrex was playing previously, but getting that solo kill for Toasty buys them a little bit of time on the other side of the map. And in the top lane, Chad didn't have anything he could do. He didn't know he was on vision. He didn't have the opportunity to flash after the crowd control comes through, and the first crowd control that hits locks him down in a spot where he cannot even flash before Zyko jumps in on him. This is a great example of Maryville finding all the tools. It's just perhaps a little bit of overconfidence from Spyrex that ends up shutting them down.
The consistent word, though, has been the vision difference, right? Like, here, Maryville, I've seen every move that Fear wants to make. You got to expect they have cameras in the enemy jungle here or something, because it's been impressive. Now they're going to get all the grubs. They've gotten the full objective focus, and Yuji's going to keep farming up, still pretty far ahead of Chad.
Yeah, and getting all these grubs, that's 5. So Twitch chat, congratulations, welcome to the game. They're going to get all 6 as well. So they just do a ton more damage to these objectives, and it ends up meaning that every time you win a fight, you're going to take an extra plate. You're going to get potentially an extra turret. You're going to take a couple seconds less in order to get all of these objectives. And Maryville, I mean, they just have everything they could possibly want from this position. Now, the one thing that we also have to know is that Spyrex being behind, because you're Nico, your ultimate is always going to be useful. I remember playing against a couple other people in the Caster Showdown where they had done nothing all game, but they found one good ult, and that's enough to win a game.
And that's what I find so funny about this, because Toasty really impressed a lot of people, but me as well, with his Nico flanks in the offseason and the combines. I think it was really impressive to watch the way this guy was approaching backlines and finding those angles and kind of taking that angle away from this guy and giving the Orianna more of a tried and true combo. Now bot lane, speaking of tried and true, nice little dodge out from Daption there.
Yeah. I mean, it saves them a little bit of damage, but as we already looked at, they were down about 2 waves. They will continue being down about 2 waves. And so Maryville, they're already setting up. They have a lot of prio in the bottom lane. Spyrex will be getting prio here in the mid lane as well. They are already setting up for this dragon, and Chad needs to try and find something with his first ult because they are still looking for Chad to find his way into the game.
When I was coming into this, I forgot I wanted to check if Philip had chatted at all to Spyrex and UG. Former teammates there, but when I was doing a content piece with Philip, he's like, "Oh, who's Jalal? Who's Spyrex? I don't know that guy. We're not friends." It's, very, very good friends across the team, but now enemies on the Rift. And speaking of enemies, a dragon-killing kind is there. At least UG is gonna make it out alive there. The Vision's starting to be fought back a little bit, though.
True. I mean, the fact that UG recognized it's like, I might be on Vision here, it's not safe, especially with the way that Chad is moving, does allow them to walk out. But that is a second dragon already going over. It is a mountain rift this time around. And Maryville, they don't really care what the Dragon Soul would have been, especially since we already had Ocean and Hextech come through. All of the rest of them are going to be good. Now, they know that Fear needs to start fighting for these dragons earlier than they would like because of the power that the mountain dragons actually give you. And it's not going to be ready by the time the third dragon spawns. Fear should not be ready to fight effectively around the third dragon. But the question will become, does Lens have 225 stacks in time for dragon number 4? Because that could be the turning point. Maryville needs to build up a big enough lead between now and dragon 5 to close out the game cleanly.
Or a lot of the ways in, at least for Fear, still trying to stay consistent. Trying to not fall down too far. Philip's going to get the brunt of Niles' ire here, though. To trade back pretty heavily. You got a lot of bodies from Fear heading up towards the top side of the map, though, with a Rift Herald spawning pretty shortly.
Same time, Lens is down here. You're already talking about, this is a very familiar scene for you, Mazel. I know in a lot of our games I've seen you play Smolder, but does it work?
Oh, no! It's a poor dead dragon. A killing spree for Scary Jerry.
I gotta say, the way that Zyko played that, I adored. He used his flash instead of the grand entrance at the beginning, trying to lock down Lens, and knowing that Lens only has one flash to use. As soon as he sees the flash from Lens, it means he is guaranteeing the crowd control for Scary Jerry. They take him down, and even though we see Cincinnati Fear are potentially poised to try and take away this Rift Herald, they're going to be losing a ton of damage down on the bottom side. Look at how much gold is going to be going into Scary Jerry's pocket after all this, and a Rift Herald is nice, but when you lose an entire turret, that's what you want the Rift Herald for in the first place.
Yeah, that's really difficult. And that's where I want to bring a little bit of a spotlight more towards Zyko. I know we talked a lot about Scary Jerry. Those aggressive plays are flashy. But Zyko has shown a consistency this year that I feel like his head's above a lot of the other class in ACL, and he's been able to show flexibility in that too. And the confidence, I think when we talk to him, the biggest difference to the year is he just feels more confidence. He doesn't have to ask questions all the time. He can make decisions.
Yeah, Scary Jerry.
Speaking of, he's coming in here. They haven't made the decision yet, but they're going to get the engage there. Oh, Scary Jerry was the one that was tanking. Oh, Zyko, it was close. He got the shield there at the last second.
Yeah, really good attempt from Philip to try and get out of that, but ultimately, Maryville, they come down, they get the entire bottom lane outer turret, they do some damage to the mid lane turret as well, and with 2 minutes up until the dragon spawn, they're already up 3,500 gold. From this position, I would love to see how many stacks Lens has to try and get an idea of whether or not Fear will even be ready to fight for the soul.
Hopefully we'll get that kick in here
It's gold. It's close.
But I do expect a lot of forcing to happen here soon, because Maryville, we talked about it in draft, but it's a really heavy wombo combo teamfight centric comp with a lot of resets for UG.
Yeah.
And if they can start forcing those objective decisions onto Fear in these next few minutes, that's where it becomes a lot more difficult because you're just not ready to fight for Fear.
Yeah. And with this gold deficit, it's really tough. As now Chad potentially trying to find something, but he could also be the something that's found. He's going to be okay. With a minute left until the dragon, this is where you really need to start preparing with all of your vision. But we are already seeing that Maryville is taking control of all of these places, and they will have time to reset and potentially even re-establish that.
Ooh, a little flap action there. Fear going for it. They got Zyko. He's going to pop that grand entrance on the Chad probably.
Okay.
No, he's actually not. He's using it to get out. Mob comes through. The bird not there. And UG is here to respond, but they have found Scary Jerry, and that was a big shutdown.
That was a lot of gold that you really needed in order to take down these members and get Len to a position where he might be able to fight. However, you're still down about 3,000 gold. Maryville has time to get back out onto the map and test for this dragon. And with both top laners backing away, it looks like it's going to be an entire 5-on-5 as Maryville gets ready to try and shut down anything that Fear would look for.
That's where some of the issues start to come in, the things that we've been talking about. Now, there is the distraction Carnifex of a Rift Herald available for Chad. We'll see if they can utilize it, and they do still have a lot of options there. Some pings going down towards top side, as well as a TP from Toasty, and looks like Fear just giving this one away. So third dragon to Maryville.
Yeah, that will be tough, but now Fear moving towards the top side. Niles has already responded. This top lane turret should go down, especially with Daption waiting in the wings, but Niles might be able to slow it down sufficiently in order for Maryville to get even more.
Equalizer there. They're just trying to get Niles in the end, and they can't get him. The healing from Zyko is too clutch, and Chad almost dies. Here comes the TP plays, and Philip has gotten one, but he's completely dead under tower, and Spyrax will get that kill on his former brother and Philip.
And we still continue to see this top lane turret standing. No objective bounty going over to Fear at all. It ends up just being a trade in kills. But Maryville are going to be walking away with the dragon. And it is so tough. Zyko is absolutely A-okay, especially with that missing. Everything is going to work out. And Yuji on the upside of the map is taking away everything that Chad could want to farm. He's down 10 camps. Oh,
I thought he was going to kind of predict that one. He goes for the Heartbreaker there. Chad has no hope. That is it. Yuji gets the kill, and now he's on to Lens, too. He's throwing a little hand now, and this is that conversation. The man is just pushing the limits of NACL.
And he lives after that as well. Maryville having absolutely no chill in this game. Scary Jerry going to get almost as much off of that as Yuji by himself, but 2 kills coming through. I thought it might be bad for Yuji when he used the stun right before Chad jumped over the wall. He's like, no, I stat check this guy every single time. Finds himself 2 solo kills immediately, and now we were saying Chad might be an opportunity for him to showcase what he can do against Yuji. Looks like Yuji is not giving him any opportunities whatsoever, and even though Scary Jerry tries to throw out some auto attacks, he ends up getting nothing done. This was the one that surprised me, but as soon as the root lands, like, yep, that guy is a goner, and Yuji's able to just walk out, and I love the fact that he goes down after getting the kill, because he knows he just cleared out that side of the jungle. There is nobody who is alive who can potentially contest him there.
These are the kinds of statements that back up his confidence, the reason he wants to be at the top of the conversation and not second fiddle any longer. And we've seen consistent performances like this from Yuji. And yes, you can say the team has definitely stepped up from last year as a whole. They're functioning a lot more fluidly. But the fact they brought in Yuji and they've had a lot of synergy with him and Spyrax back at it again together, it's been really, really impressive.
It's been great. And again, I want to ask our observers if we can take a look at how many stacks Lens has managed to pick up as we are getting close to the 20-minute mark. It'll tell us whether or not they should be close. 139? Absolutely not.
Lens, flap your way. Oh, Zyko wanted it over there. He just didn't have any follow-up. He's going to have to flash.
Yeah, 140 stacks at this point is not going to be cutting it at all. That means that Fear need to be ready to fight for the Elder Dragon. I accidentally said Dragon 5 before.
Same
you know.
Thing. I will say, though, and the reason we're at this position, Fear aren't in a place where they can take fights. And when you get to the mid-game, you want to be taking a lot of skirmishes, a lot of sustained skirmishes with Smolder, so you can just keep stacking up as much as possible. Every ability hit on a champion gets you a stack. They haven't been able to do that because of the game plan we were kind of talking about earlier, and it just is desynced a little bit.
Yeah, and it's been really tough, right? The only really gleam that we've seen this game has been from Posty, and admittedly, fighting a solo kill up against Spyrax is a pretty good thing to have on your belt, but I mean, everything else has kind of gone wrong. And it's really hard to pinpoint like major mistakes that have been made. It just feels as though Yuji has been reading so many of the things that Chad wanted to do that they're not really able to go anywhere. The vision has been a huge difference, and the understanding that Maryville have had on where Fear is at all points of the game have allowed them to get this 4,000 gold lead without any real team fights. It's just been skirmishes and individual 1v1s and 2v2s that have allowed Maryville to find disadvantage.
Oh, they saw Philip right there, and they want him. He's going to pop that World Ender, run his way away. He's make it out alive there. Maryville just running rampant on the map with no objectives besides the Baron. They're just looking for kills.
Yeah, they don't know that Chad is right there. They also don't really care, right? It's like, you know, if you kill him, he's going to be back on the map in time.
Lens?
My bad, I guess.
Yeah?
You know, play safe. You know, it is what it is. That's going to be another kill going over to Yuji as he's already on 2 completed items in the jungle. Now, they're turning towards the Baron. They're not even necessarily playing for this Mountain Dragon. They know that they can take any fight. Every fight is winning. That's my favorite comp to ever make.
Makes it a little easier to make those decisions on Summoner's Rift. Look at Niles, look at Spyrax. Oh my god, they've got the combos. Fear are unsuspecting, and they've been pounced on. And it's not Rengar, it's Maryville University. As Chad's trying to get something in there, it's just not enough. They're getting picked apart at the seams. Zyko's still alive for a second, but Philip gets a kill back. Some emo game coming up, but Maryville turn right back onto the Baron.
Oh my gosh, absolutely brutal. Now, Maryville, their thinking is like, is the Baron worth the Mountain Soul? Chad has already gone to the other side of the map. And yeah, Chad's like, okay. My bad, I am sorry. I did not realize that this was yours, good sir. It is all yours. Please do not think worse of me for trying to go for this. Chad doesn't even really have an opportunity to try and go for a steal with no smite. Does have to get out of there, and I like this turn from Maryville. But one of the other things that I love watching about Maryville's games is this right here. Niles and Spyrax are so good at looking for these aggressive flanks, and when you just come through and have total vision control, there's not a lot that Fear can do. This fight starts off as a rout, and the only thing that turns it around at all is the fact that Zyko ends up getting chased down because Philip chooses to go for that kill knowing he doesn't have a way out of the fight.
Gotta get what you can, even if there's scraps. A little something back for Fear in this
Please,
one,
sir.
but it has been a devastating, I think.
Can I have a second kill in this game?
It is interesting, though, because Fear, we came into this one, we want, boxing match, both going down. It really has been kind of a one-sided affair because of that control early on. I do still suspect we'll get some fighting chances from Fear, but it's got to be based around clearing out a lot of this vision. I think that's something they'll come back in at least game 2 thinking about a little bit more, but this one in now turning it around after 23.
Yeah. A wildcard does need to be aware that if they lose this series, they don't have a great opportunity to try and get third. But, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong teams. Niles? Ooh.
Oh! Mother! Is it going to work, though? I don't know. Fear actually have a decent fight. Philip's got Scary Jerry, but here comes Spyrax anyways. Philip's still fighting him down, though. Maryville might have bitten off a little more than they could chew, and a shutdown goes to Toasty.
That's big. I mean, that does help out. Getting that kill into Spyrax does buy you a little bit more time. The Lens still doesn't have access to the execute just quite yet. And Zyko, we saw Ole make this similar mistake earlier today. Alright, he's going to be okay. But yeah, because Lens still doesn't have access to those executes, we are getting close to the 25-minute mark, which means that it is very, very late at this point. Yes, he's on 2 items, but you rely so much on that extra damage coming through, and now Philip probably is going to get stopped. He is not going to take anything further, but once Spyrax comes back onto the map, it's just going to be a rinse and repeat, and then Spyrax will do the same thing, but better.
It's bit rough when you're down, especially when you're starting to hit those 3 items, 2.5 items really for a lot of members on Maryville. Once that 3 item spike comes through, it's a lot more difficult to fight the fights. Now, is there a world that Lens does come online with 225 and finds a lot of these big team fights? I think yes, if Maryville overextend like they did.
Yeah. Maryville have to make 2 big blunders this game in order for Fear to really have a chance. Because the Mountain Dragon comes through, I mean, Smolder himself doesn't care about it a whole lot, but it creates a whole lot more pressure for Spyrax and Scary Jerry, because it takes a lot more to actually kill them. I love this pressure coming through from Maryville, trying to limit Lens's ability to farm.
See, just time being spent right now. Yeah, he's getting very close. The thing is, you can get really close, and then as soon as the team fight kicks off, you land one ability, and you'll be there, right? We see a lot of times they'll just kind of have that one waiting in their wings, and It's definitely a power spike, but we've also seen in recent history a lot of strategies just revolve around shutting down Smolder even after that 225 mark. And one of those ways is forcing a fight when Fear aren't ready, and Maryville start up the Baron.
He's already going through. Spyrex is on the other side of the map. He's losing X to some teleport wards, but he still has some that will work. He can join, and it does not matter. Fear cannot get in. And the teleport out from, I think that was Toasty coming through, now means that Spyrex is left alone with the Baron buff and the Void Mites hitting the bottom lane turret.
Fear have been duped a little bit. Niles gets engaged on. That's going to be depth charge used. They have the siege on mid lane. They still had Spyrax bot side 2. They take the tier 2 tower while Niles was looking for a flank here. Another tier 2 and bot side's going to fall.
That's a lot of money going over to Maryville all at once. We said that they would need to close this game out. We have hit the 25-minute mark, right, where Fear suddenly has some damage, but the confidence comes through.
Oh, Spyrax, and there's the combo! Mummy's gonna save you today! As Maryville have come to town, they come to task, and now Daption's in some trouble. Scary Jerry's going forward, the rest of the team, Reset City has arrived, and now Yuji's a big, strong dragon. The mid lane is done and dusted, and so are Fear in this first game.
Absolutely wild fight coming through. Spyrex not pushing the bottom lane, instead looking to go for the flag, and it's a great win coming through from Maryville. They had a couple of moments where they maybe didn't look as clean as they could have been, but they end up cleaning this out almost perfectly cleanly with Zyko going down to the Fountain Laser. A great start from Maryville and burying Fear's chances of making 4th in the league.
So we set it up. Maryville are the top dogs. They have been dominant. They have led
second
the pack
top dog.
with UG. Yeah, top 2 dogs.
Top 2 dogs.
It's been impressive because of how clinical they've been in a lot of these situations. I think this was a perfect example of that. You can go back and look at a lot of Maryville games and say, well, they had this, this, and this. This time it was the vision game from start to finish. Incredible stuff. And Fear, they got to find a way to bounce back in game 2. Speaking of, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back for game 2.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long. Or a churro, and probably not a pretzel either. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. To which we said, but we already made them. And they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.
With the spring regular season nearing its end, we gotta talk most valuable prospect. And there's one player who has been a nightmare for his lane opponents, Scary Jerry. Now, this isn't 2023 Scary Jerry. The man has been constantly working his butt off to improve, and it shows massively in the stats. As of week 6, Scary Jerry currently leads the charts with a threatening 9.4 KDA. Him and Zyko put relentless pressure in the bot lane, so much so that Scary Jerry takes first blood in nearly half of his games. He's top of the board when it comes to average kills per game at 6.5, and he also averages the least deaths in the league. The kid has a lot to flex about, and he continues to flex on picks such as Varus, Lucian, and even a pocket Draven. If you want bot lane brutality, keep an eye on Scary Jerry.
Quad has been a beast this split, and for me it's been all about aggression. It starts in the laning phase, where he's leading all mids in CS differential at 15 and experience differential at 15. Transitioning that to teamfights, he's leading the league in DPM. Quad is picking high damage champions, and he's playing forward, looking to be a playmaker. And as someone whose time in Korea was ruled by the narrative that he wasn't able to transition his scrim performance to the stage, we've seen nothing but Quad performing on stage this split, and that's why he's one of our frontrunners for most valuable prospect.
My early MVP nod for Spring Split is none other than Maryville University's jungler, UG. Not only has he exhibited an ability to execute high-level mechanics in tense situations, he is also exceptional at marking targets in fights and understanding what his role in said fights is. Couple that with his tenacious focus on getting his bot lane ahead, and UG has been a terror for NACL junglers to contain. Also, in case you're behind on the lore, he hails from Mongolia, and while living there, he hit challengers on the Chinese, Korean, and EU servers, before coming to NA and doing the same here, making him one of the only players ever to hit challenger in all 4 major servers.
Lastly, we have a bit of a dark horse candidate. There were a lot of questions around how well Shochi would perform on another team where he wasn't getting the same level of resources, because we've seen what he can do when he's allowed to be the star of the show. He gets kills and makes plays like no one's business. But this split, Shochi has nonetheless made great strides in terms of finding opportunities to play more different styles than he's used to, and he's played more games on Talia, Orianna, and Karma this split than any of his traditional carries. Yet, he's still finding moments to shine and constantly still looking for plays. If he can continue this style of growth where we know he can be a strong carry and is able to take a back seat, he will be able to find success on any LCS team in the future. Who do you think deserves to be Spring 2024's most valuable prospect? Let us know in Twitch chat and hit us up on Twitter at Path to LCS.